So thank everyone for being here. We have a very special guest, and I wanted to give them an opportunity to say a few words. But Congressman Byer, if you would raise his hand.
Well, first, thank all of you for coming out here to support Canek. This is the real reason that we're here. And thank Rosa for feeding us all. And it's wonderful to know that this restaurant's been here. Are you here?
How long?
Here, come take
Here
a bow.
6 months. Before this, we owned it since 2007.
Rose.
Wow. I don't need it. I'm a big house. No, the restaurant has existed since 1986. In 2007, it's been a huge success. We promote a niche, which is Spanish country music, Salvadorian country music. And we get So welcome everyone. Now you know we're here. And thanks guys for being here.
It's hard to believe this restaurant is older than Canek. But you know, one of the things that political leaders like to do but shouldn't do, and he never does, which is talk about themselves. And it's never about Canek. So I want to take just a minute to make this about Canek. Because he's the first Latino ever elected to city government now. Somehow he went astray, didn't go to UVA, didn't go to Duke, went to Chapel Hill instead.
Yes, sir.
Leading North Carolina blue. And came back here to lead the Tenants Council, to be deeply involved in the community in so many different ways. I had to print out 2 pages of just the leadership things that he's done. For example, he led the 2020 census count. Alexandria had 100% of his households census. The only jurisdiction for miles and miles and miles to actually do that. And that, of course, means that not only do we get more than our fair share of federal money in the next 10 years, but it means that no one was left out. That everyone, no matter their status, was counted in the census. So thank you for that leadership. It's terrific. He's on the National Region Transportation Planning Board. He actually been leading the Leadership Council on adolescent pregnancy. For years and years, I spent on the DC campaign to prevent teen pregnancy. Because when you look at poverty in the world, the 2 great drivers, behaviorally, are not graduating from high school or having a baby before your age of 20. And Canek understands that, and he's going after making sure that when you have that first baby, you're in a position to actually raise it, to give it love, to financially support it. It makes an enormous difference. And there's so much more that he's done. The library board, he's chair of the Social Services Council, or whatever they call that thing. He's somehow managed to get elected twice already. But probably the vice chair of the Health Systems Agency, and past chair of the city's Economic Opportunities Commission, which once again, if you think about your role in leadership, it's not just about how flush the city is with cash. It's making sure that everyone in the city has the opportunity to contribute, to work, to have the dignity of work, to move in the right direction, to support an ever higher minimum wage. This is just a servant's servant who comes to each one of us, and I just think we should all be incredibly grateful that he's willing to do it again. And let's give our once
Hey everybody, so thank you first for being here today. So my name is Ewan Thompson. I'm Canek's campaign manager right now, and I'm also emceeing for right now. And I know you guys are not here to hear from me, so what I'm here to do is introduce our next speaker. So our next speaker is a lifelong Alexandrian and a longtime friend of Canek. It's Lisa Solizano.
re-election campaign, I'm reminded of what brought me to his side years ago. My name is Elisa, and back in high school, I was drawn to Canek not just because he made history as the first Latino elected to our city council, but because he represented something bigger, a voice for all of us. I interned with Canek during my senior year of high school at Alexandria City, and it wasn't just about politics. For the first time in my life, someone who looked like me was representing me in my hometown. Interning for Canek completely opened up my eyes, because even though I was born and raised in Alexandria, there was so much going on in the city that I wasn't aware of. I accompanied him to so many different events, local job fairs, pride celebrations, transportation planning meetings, the list goes on. Something that has always stood out to me is how Canek showed respect for everyone he encountered and took the time to listen to what people had to say. His dedication to ensuring that all voices are heard in our community is unmatched. From advocating for marginalized communities to championing policies that uplift every resident, Canek embodies the spirit of inclusivity that we need in our leaders. This goes to show that what truly sets Canek apart is not just his accomplishments, but his character. He is a man of humility and authenticity, qualities that are often rare to find in today's political landscape. Canek remains grounded, always putting the needs of Alexandria above personal gain. As we stand at the cusp of another election, let us not forget the importance of having leaders who are not only capable, but also compassionate. Canek embodies these qualities, and I have no doubt that he will continue to serve Alexandria with integrity and dedication. So, as we rally behind Canek's re-election campaign, let us reaffirm our commitment to a city where everyone has a seat at the table, where diversity is celebrated, and where progress is measured not just by economic growth, but by the well-being of every resident. Thank you, and let's continue to move forward with Canek leading the way.
All right, so next up we have somebody who was worked in Alexandria City Public Schools for a very long time, worked in Alexandria City Public Schools back when I was a student in Alexandria City Public Schools, which feels like a long time ago to me. It really was not that long, but yes, so next up, I'm very happy to introduce Dr. Mann.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here. When Canek texted me and said, hey, what do you think of, actually, he called me and I didn't answer, and I called him back. And he says, hey, would you be willing to introduce me? And I was like, well, what do you want me to say? And he goes, I trust you. And he goes, I said, are you sure? He goes, yeah. And he goes, yeah, Mr. Mann. And I said, Canek, we've known each other for how long? I said, you can call me Gerald. And he goes, yeah, I still just think about those days at GW. And I said, well, how about I tell the group how it all started before he became a two-time first Latino city councilman in Alexandria. So a long time ago, many of you, raise your hand if you remember when Alexandria had 5 middle schools. Anybody remember that? I do. I lived it. That's where all the gray came from. But Canek came in for an interview to be my family liaison. And we're sitting there talking, and he said he's from California. And I said, oh, where? And he says, Los Angeles. And I said, where? And he goes, and he kind of looks at me like, why is this guy grilling me? And he says, Eagle Rock. And I said, wow, I went to Occidental College, which is in Eagle Rock. And he looks at me, and that face he gave me, if any of you have ever seen it before, that face thawed, and he goes, one of my teachers went to Occidental. And I said, really? Who? And he says, Moises de Leon. And I was like, Moises? I was like, he was my college football teammate. I was like, how is it that 2 California kids end up in Alexandria, Virginia, talking to each other about how we're going to serve our families who do not speak English? And he just looked at me, and I was like, I had no idea. I hired him. And we started to bond over, hey, is there any good Mexican food here? And I said, no. I said, there isn't. And he said, well, it's my mission to find where's the good Mexican food. Now, times have changed since he and I had this initial conversation. And as he continued to find them, and we went to taco trucks together, but then we found out that we had other things in common. He's Mexican American, my wife is Mexican American. Now he's married to an African American. When we met, I was like, how is it that we have so much in common? My wife is born and raised in LA, first generation, like all these things that we kept running into. But while we were at GW, I remember talking to him, I was like, we have this group of families who come to meetings and aren't represented. How can we start a place where they feel comfortable having our meetings in Spanish? He knew I understood Spanish. I would just never get up and speak in Spanish. And we started to have these meetings where the whole meeting was in Spanish. We started to have these conversations, and he led that effort. And he continued to galvanize and rally the community, and how do we advocate for our Latino students when we were at GW, not just at GW1, but also GW2. And then one day he said to me, hey, I'm gonna go and do this. Will you support me? Yeah, I'll continue to support you. And we continued to stay in touch, be friends. And then one day he says, I'm running for city council. And I was like, wow, I knew your better half was a political junkie. Didn't know you had it in you as well. But we know behind every good man is a great woman. And so thank you for supporting me. I know it has to be awkward for him to stand here while we all continue to talk about him like he's not here, but I am proud to call him a friend and glad to be here as he kicks off his third time. I don't know, when I met him he didn't have a beard. How he still doesn't have gray, I don't know. Forever young, I won't tell you what year we started together, but again, I'm proud to call him a friend, glad to be here as he kicks off his campaign for a third term as your city councilman. Canek, good luck.
It's really humbling. So for formalities, let me get these formalities out of the way first. So we do have some elected officials with us, and I just want to make sure that I introduce everyone. We already had our Congressman, Mr. Don Byer, speak. Congressman, we have our Mayor of Alexandria, Justin Wilson. We have our Vice Mayor, Amy Jackson. Then, just because they're in my line of sight, we have Councilmember Bagley. Councilman Kirkman Pike. Holding down the corner over here, Councilwoman Aaliyah Gaskins. Representing Councilman John Chapman, Mrs. Chapman. We also have our Sheriff, Sean Casey. Our Clerk of Court, Greg Parks. Joining us from the other side of the river, Clerk of Court from Prince George's County, Mahasan Alamin. Then from our school board, I know we have Chair Michelle Reif, Dr. Reif. Saw Chris Harris also on the school board. Mr. Tim Beatty, newest member of the school board. And then in the back, in front of Mr. Chase, we've got Abdel El-Nubi, county school board member. And then we have a few former electeds. Former Mayor Bill Ewell. You still here, Mr. Ewell? All right, former school board member, you can't hide Helen. Helen Morris. think that, is there anybody I'm missing? Y'all help me out. Point, stand up or point? Okay, I think we got everybody. So again, very humbled that all of you have decided to spend some time here with us. I do want to give a quick thank you to Rose and her staff again for hosting us at Team Canek. I want to thank my team, Team Canek, volunteers, interns. If you just raise your hand. I want to give a special shout out to a couple lovebirds celebrating their 49th anniversary, Dan and Sammy. We actually just had 2 more former electeds show up. Former school board member Bill Campbell. And former Congressman Miller. Thank you for being here, Congressman Miller. And of course, I'd be remiss if I did not also thank one more time. Without her, I cannot do any of this. I would not be able to survive throughout any of this. But to my lovely wife, love you. Okay, so some folks have heard this before, some haven't, so bear with me, but I just want to make sure everybody's starting from the same place because some friends that have known me for a while have never heard this before, others that we're getting to know each other, this will be probably the first time you hear it. But I just want to give everybody a little bit of background about myself and then we'll jump into some more Alexandria-specific things. So again, my name's Canek. I'm originally from Los Angeles, born and raised. Both my parents immigrated here from Mexico. My mother was a school teacher back home in LAUSD, and I had the opportunity to actually mentor some of her students, work in her classrooms. You want to learn patience? Work with elementary kids. Work with middle school kids. Yeah, I really am so grateful for her for all the opportunities that she gave me through her job, and then also being able to be in her classroom with her. You know, I never thought I was going to leave LA, much less California. All of a sudden, I found myself on a plane headed to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Go Heels. Go Heels. I had a little bit of a rough time, but it was good. I was ready to go back home to LA, and I was like, all right, I'm going back home to LA. I'm going to stay there. I'm going to, start setting my life up. Fate had, different plans for me. Instead, in December 2008, we unfortunately lost our home. And a couple months later, I found myself back on the plane, going back to North Carolina to try and see if I could work things out, try and figure out what am I going to do with my life. And I ran into perseverance, building character. I was working 4 jobs. I was working 80, 90 hours a week. And I had gotten down to 2 jobs, working 70 or 80 hours a week. But then my girlfriend at the time, now wife, she said, hey, I've got a good deal going on up here in D.C. If we're going to stay together, one of us got to move. And I was like, hey, well, if that's the case, I guess I'm going up to the DMV. And landed not too far from here. Our first place that we lived in the Lynn Haven / Delray area in Auburn Village. And Dr. Mann told you what my first job was, family liaison at GW Middle School, and that's really where I got my start. I was able to get out into the community, work with folks like tenants and workers, with community lodgings, with Casa Chirilawa, see what the issues were going on. And at times I would get frustrated because I felt that there was a disconnect between the policymakers and what was happening with the people on the ground. Fast forward, I helped start the Faith Center, which celebrated 10 years last year. Super excited about that, the Family and Community Engagement Center. And because of the work I was doing there, I went from working in one school, one neighborhood, I started working across the entire city, right? I started working with all the different city agencies, churches, nonprofits. And because I was doing that, I got noticed, and then I got plucked by the private sector. Shout out to Patty. She's the reason I got into the health industry, and I was working in Medicaid. And from there, I started working across the entire region. My territory ran from Winchester down to Culpeper and Fauquier. I was working with some of the most vulnerable populations in the entire state of Virginia. I'm very proud of the work that we were doing there. But again, I ran into the same similar situation where I was saying, why are these policies being made that are affecting our families, either hurting them or not giving them the opportunity that they need? And so I kept on advocating for families. And believe it or not, I actually found more time in my day when I was working in the health industry, where I then said, okay, well, let me join some of these boards and commissions. Let me see how I can get more involved. That's how I got involved with Tenants and Workers, and I was on the board there, and then got onto the Economic Opportunities Commission, which I later chaired, doing advocacy around housing. Little did I know it at the time, this built up the platform that I ran on the first time, which was housing, education, and health. Housing because of my own personal story and experiences, plus the advocacy I've been doing. Education because of my mom being a teacher, plus myself working in the school system here in Alexandria. And then health because, well, that was my day job, and it's super, super important. We all need our health. And, you know, it resonated with voters. It resonated with residents in the city, and I was really proud to be able to get elected. And when I got elected, I'll leave that part out. When I got elected, I gravitated towards transportation because it's something I originally wanted to include in my platform because transportation is so crucial. It connects everybody, not just to their jobs, but to their doctor's office, to take their kids to the rec center, to go to a library. Transportation is so crucial. And growing up in Los Angeles, I always had a pocket full of change because I would ride the bus. It was actually called the Dash, believe it or not. It was the Dash in LA. But I remember I would always have a pocket full of change so I could get around. So I was used to, you know, public transit, taking the train to go see my grandparents. And it was very important to me, especially if I was walking around a lot. And in LA, it's very car-centric, right? And it's, you gotta be careful when you're walking around as a pedestrian a lot of times. But fast forward, I'm in Chapel Hill, the buses are free. It's something that stuck in my mind, right? Go forward again, 2009, I'm back in North Carolina, like I said, working 4 jobs. I made sure that I found an apartment that was on a bus route because I didn't have a car. So I wanted to make sure I'd be able to get around. Now, jump to 2011 when I get here to Port City, again, no car, but luckily close enough to a bus. Friendly name, Dash, I was excited. And, you know, like I said, I gravitated towards transportation when I first got elected, and one of the things that I wanted to look at, and I gotta give a shout out to the mayor for this, I wanted the buses to be fare free. We were a small enough community, dense enough that we could make it work. And so when the mayor said, hey, yeah, let's go after this, I was like, absolutely, 100% behind you. So I'm super proud that Dash, fare free. First in the region to do so, connecting people. Still have a lot of work to do though. One of the things that I want to see and that I've been advocating for, I want to get the Dash buses to come all the way down Mount Vernon. Because right now they stop at Reed. So, you know, we talk about when we were redoing the transit vision, activity centers and population centers, right? We got both of those right here. So that's why I want to see the bus come all the way down Mount Vernon. Because I know what it's like to have to carry your groceries for a mile. And when folks have to go up here to the food star and have to walk back when they could have hopped on a bus for free, we want to help folks out to do that, right? We want to make sure that we're connecting people. Activity centers, population centers, right? Across the street from us, I didn't realize this. I found this out about a year or 2 ago, so thanks to Dan. This was the largest co-op on the East Coast for a good amount of time. The Alexandria City Housing Cooperation. A lot of people don't realize that we even have a co-op in the city, but they've been doing amazing work because of the relationships I've built in the community and established and reestablished. I was able to save them $500,000 on their taxes because we had someone new in the tax office. They weren't used to a co-op, hadn't worked with one before, so that's why. But the importance that I bring that up is because that's preserving affordable housing that we have in the city, right? And when we're talking about affordable housing, we've got another project going on just down the street, right? Big development, 470 plus units, amazing, all affordable. Very, very proud of that project that we're doing. We're doing affordable housing all across the city, and I'm very proud of this council. One of the things that was super important to me though, displacement of businesses. So excited for the project, but we also have to look after, is there going to be displacement? And I'm proud to say that every single one of the businesses that were there in the Safeway site, we found places for all of them. Let's get on across the street from where they were. The barber, he got a chair across the street. Sherman-Williams, just over here in the same complex. And then very, very fortunate that Cuscatleco was able to find this spot right here. And so when we talk about small businesses, it's very important, right? And during the pandemic, this was one of the issues that I was frustrated with, but I knew we had to do something. We had a good staff, they were going out there. We had our Back to Business grants. We were helping support businesses. And where we're standing right now, this business, because I personally walked all through Alexandria, I walked through the West End, I walked through Old Town, I walked through Delray, and I talked to businesses personally. And I said, hey, do you know about this program? No, not really, what is this? The city's giving out money, please apply. And Cuscatleco was able to get some of that money as well. So they've been able to keep their staff going while they're going through the pandemic. And it wasn't just here, right? I said it was across the entire city. Visit Alexandria, our tourism arm. When they started off, they were just highlighting businesses in Old Town and Delray, which is great, don't get me wrong, we want that. But I said, hey, can we do this for our other businesses, for the businesses in Alexandria, Chicalabo, for the businesses on the West End? They said, yeah, no, absolutely we could do that. You know, who are some names? Drop in some restaurants. You know what, we've had a great rollout for that. That's actually blossomed into another program where they're highlighting the different neighborhoods across all Alexandria, because that's what we want. We want all the neighborhoods in Alexandria to be successful. And speaking of neighborhoods, gotta talk about our schools, right? Schools are so crucial to all our neighborhoods. They're crucial to what we're doing. It's a third of our budget, and people forget that. So when people will contact you later this year about the school board raise, please pay attention. It is a third of the budget. It's super important. Really proud that we've been able to fund the ACPS budget for the last 5 years. Have some tough conversations we have to have this year, but willing to roll up our sleeves, do the work, and figure that out. And we still have collective bargaining that we have to do with our teachers, because we want to make sure that it's not just our students and families that are successful, but also our staff that are working in ACPS. And so collective bargaining is going to go a long way for that. Yes, I'm looking at my cheat sheet. But collective bargaining, first jurisdiction in all of Virginia in over 40 years to be able to pass, not 1, not 2, now 3, and we're still going. We still have 1 or 2 more collective bargaining going. Because we want to make sure our police, our fire, our general scale service employees, that everybody is getting the compensation that they need so that they enjoy working here and also potentially have the opportunity to live here in Alexandria. That's so important. And that's why I was very proud to lead the city council on the compensation increase for our library staff, for our libraries, because they've been so deeply impacted from a decade ago, the cuts that they had to take, and they were the slowest to be able to grow back. So I'm very happy and proud to have led the efforts to increase salaries for our libraries and our library staff. And speaking of services, if you know me, you know that I come from this community engagement background. I can't leave out communications and engagement. I've been advocating for this since before being on council, trying to meet people where they are, doing pop-ups, going to the grocery store, going to the laundromat. We gotta try and get as many people involved as we can, and we have to make sure that we're also meeting people with their languages if they so choose. So multilingual, multimedia, really proud to be a champion of that on the council, and also proud to have increased the size of our communications office, because we only used to have 3 or 4 people. And you know what? We deserve a 21st century communications for our residents here so that they know what's going on, to keep them informed about everything that's happening in the city, so that they're staying involved, their voices are heard, and we're getting their input. So really proud of the work we've done there too. And I feel like I've been talking a long time, so I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping it up. So thank you for your patience on that one. But I've been proud to be delivering results for Alexandria. Since I got here in the school system with Dr. Mann and creating, helping start up the FACE Center, to when I was working in the health industry and helping to create better engagement in the city, and then getting on the council, delivering for a variety of issues, whether it's communications, affordable housing, equity, transportation, the climate, right? Shout out to council members Bagley and McPike, because they've really been leading us on this. Green building policy, having a climate action office, super important. Transportation, opening Potomac Metro Station, working with equity and having piloted a universal basic income program that's been super, super successful. If you haven't seen about it, you've got to go check it out. But like I said, we want to see success in all of our neighborhoods across all of Alexandria. So want to keep the progress that we've been able to do, want to keep moving that forward, keep on increasing our economic development, working on equity, working on our housing and our transportation. And I just want to close by saying this community has invested so much in me, and I want to invest back in this community. So I'm very proud to call Alexandria home, to being able to have given back so much, and that, again, Alexandra's been given so much to me, humbled by all of you being here. But you all know these campaigns, they're hard, they're long, and I can't do this by myself. So I'm asking one more time for your guidance, for your support, and for your vote, if you could vote in Alexandria. But one more time, thank you all so much for spending your Sunday with me. Thanks. Let's keep on moving Alexandria forward.
Thank you so much again, everybody, for being here this afternoon. This is the one quick thing that do have to get through here. But campaigns, as Canek mentioned, it's a long campaign. Campaigns take a lot of resources. We need all of you to continue to support Canek's campaign all the way through to the primary on June 18th, and then through to the general election thereafter. So some things that we can do to support Canek. There's a lot of Act Blue QR codes scattered around here on the table. There's also up at the front, if you can donate via check, that's wonderful as well. But all the support that we can get in that department is very much appreciated. Also, make sure if you head to our website as well to sign up to volunteer. You can also at the front too check off the volunteer thing. That would be wonderful. We're gonna be hitting the doors hard soon. And the more people that we can get out there, the quicker that we can get through everything, and the more people that we can reach and engage with in the city. So, and then, last thing as well, things like yard signs too. We have plenty of yard signs. They just came in yesterday. So if anybody would like to take a yard sign as well, please just see us, and we'll be happy to set you up with that. So, but with that, thank you so much again. Thank you for all the support, and let's keep this campaign going strong. Thank you.